Yeah, a little Oktoberfest music here. That a baby. 8:50 here, Big 550 KTRS. I hold in my hand a book, the second edition of Beer, Brats, and Baseball. The author is with us, Jim Merkel. Jim, welcome back to Big 550 KTRS.
Oh, I'm glad to be back.
While you were researching Beer, Brats, and Baseball, which came out how long ago?
Oh, that came out in 2012, and it was reprinted around 2014.
Right. While you're researching this book, you found a couple of interesting little nuggets that didn't make it into the book about German culture and German heritage here in St. Louis.
Well, just that there were 6 streets whose names, with German names, that were changed during World War I.
Why were they changed?
Just because they were enemy streets, because they were improper. Just like, say, for example, Knapstein Street, the little this very short street right next to St. Anthony Street on the south side.
Right.
And this builder decided, he opened up the street and says, I'm going to name it after myself. And he did.
Right.
And somebody, out of meanness, decided during the war that this was an objectionable city street. So
because we were fighting against Germany in World War I, how dare we have a German name on a street?
Right.
Yeah. So, Jim, what did you do with this information?
So I decided that I would look into ways to point out about this, and we came up with the city's honorary sign.
Hold on a second. You found 6 streets where they changed the name.
Right.
And then you reached out to this guy, James Martin, right?
Well, I reached out to his organization.
And James Martin is with the German American Heritage Society. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
When he contacted you, did you guys know about this?
We did not know about it. This was the first that we heard of this. There are other cities in the Midwest that have had similar things happen to them.
Right.
But we didn't know it happened in St. Louis, too. So to find out from Mr. Merkel that there were 6 streets that had been changed, many of them had no connection whatsoever to Germany.
Right, yeah. So what were some of the other streets?
Well, there was Berlin Avenue, which is now Pershing.
Okay.
There was Von Versen, which was named named for a daughter of one of the Clemenses, who was very well known, and she married a German military person way before World War I. And the street they named this street Von Versen. All of a sudden, during the war, it was an enemy street, and they changed it to Enright, who was one of the first people to die in the war. He was from Pittsburgh.
Right. So what did you guys set out to do? What did you want to do? You wanted to bring the names back?
No, so the St. Louis aldermen have a program where you can get an honorary designation for a street. So the one most people are familiar with is the one on the Hill, the Hall of Fame street, where Yogi Berra and Joe Garagiola were born.
Jack Buck lived on that street.
That's right. So what this is it's an honorary designation for these streets. It doesn't change the name of the street. It doesn't change the address. It doesn't cost anybody anything because we take care of that.
Right.
So really all it is it designates these streets and says this is what the old street was. And people see that, and they want to know, well, what's the history of the old street? What's the history of the new street? So it's really kind of a living memorial to what was going on back then, and makes people think about what that means. And
well, what does it mean for today? And let's say you have an Arab-sounding street name, and let's change it. They're an enemy of the street, but they're not. It's really very interesting, and it's also our history. So where are we in naming the streets in terms of the honorary names? If there were 6 streets changed, are we back to having 6 honorary streets?
So we're almost done. We've got actually 5 streets that we've gone through. We added another street. This is named after Robert Prager, and Jim Merkel told us about Robert Prager. He was a German who was actually lynched over in Collinsville, and he's buried in St. Louis. And so the Robert Prager Way is one of the ones that we're having the ceremony for on Saturday. So that is a 7th one that we've taken on.
Why was Robert Prager lynched?
Because he was an alien. He was in the wrong spot at the wrong time, and some people got mad at him, and he was probably an ornery German, but.
So they lynched him, hung him up on a tree and lynched him?
They lynched him, yeah. And he was, and I think the mayor was begging people, don't do this.
The mayor of Collinsville, the mayor of St.
The mayor
Louis.
of Collinsville is saying, no, you don't want to do that.
Right.
Because, like 100 years from now, people will remember
Right,
that.
right.
And so
Jim
this-
Merkel's going to be talking about you on the
Oh,
radio.
yeah,
Don't do
right.
this.
Yeah, this is-
All right, so what's going on Saturday? What do we need to know about Saturday?
So Saturday we have 2 signs that we're unveiling. There's Robert Prager Way. We're unveiling at 9 a.m. at the corner of Bates and Morganford Road. Then at 10:30 we've got Bismarck Street at the corner of 7th and Lamy in Soulard. And then after that we've got a reception at the Soulard Tap Room starting from 1 to 3 o'clock.
Yeah. You looked surprised.
You said Schlafly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure.
The Schlafly Tap Room.
Schlafly Tap Room.
Yeah, the one downtown.
Okay, so was there a Robert Prager Way before this?
No.
No, you're just doing it in honor of this
It's
man
honor.
who was lynched because of his German heritage.
Well, yes, and it's right next to the St. Matthew Cemetery where you can see his see his gravestone.
So he's buried
He's
here
buried
in St. Louis.
right there. It's on Bates between Morganford and Gravois, and
Right.
we're going to have signs on both sides, but we're going to have people gather at this one spot.
Wow.
And so, like I say, we see it as whenever you look at that, and you have something like the Japanese in World War II, are the Muslims after 9/11. Don't do this. Don't go there. Do what you have to do, but still love these people, man, because it could be you or me or anybody.
Yeah. Well, isn't it true that after World War II, we brought a lot of the German POW over to Missouri and then opened the doors and let them stay here in America if they wanted?
I think we brought them. I think they were brought back, but I think there were
I
ways.
think there were quite a few of them who stayed.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yes.
I think that's right. Yeah.
No. I think there were concentration, POW camps here in Missouri,
yeah.
and they opened up the doors and said, stick around if you want to.
Okay.
And we also took a lot of their scientists too.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, website to find out more for this weekend.
So, Jim Merkel, we've got that on, actually, the GermanAmericanCommittee.org is where we're going to post the finalized plans. So you can go to GermanAmericanCommittee.org.
GermanAmericanCommittee.org.
That's right.
All right. To find out more. Jim, what's the next book you're working on?
Yeah, it's called Growing Up St. Louis. I interviewed more than 100 people from born in 1907 to 2008 about their individual stories. Wonderful stories about, and it gives it's the history of St. Louis from the eyes of kids.
Sure. Great.
And
when is this book coming out?
Fall of next year.
Fall of next year. Will you come back and talk about it?
Oh, I sure will.
I bet you would. Jim Merkel, James Martin. James, that website one more time.
That's GermanAmericanCommittee.org.
Guys, thanks for coming in. Great story.
Right.
7:58 here, Big 550 KTRS. We'll take some phone calls, text messages, all straight ahead next hour on the Big 550 KTRS.